Good evening, my friends, and depending on where you are, a Happy New Year to you. If you're on the East Coast, it must be getting very close to New Year's Eve 2026 or New Year's Day 2026. If you're in Asia, it's already New Year's, so Happy New Year to you. But we here are still waiting on New Year's here in California on the West Coast. So, shall we begin? I don't know. I think we're getting pretty close to the end here. Mystery in White, Chapter 26, the official version. Well, boy, this is the rudest Christmas morning I've ever spent, exclaimed the inspector, shoving his notebook aside. 4 murders in a dozen hours. I reckon I've earned my bit of turkey. 3 murders, begging your pardon, replied the sergeant. If I hadn't sent him over the edge, he'd have knifed me. Well, we won't hang you for yours, grinned the inspector. Just the same, I wish we'd got our man alive. He deserved the rope, if ever anyone did. Personally, I'm all for saving trouble, answered the sergeant, grinning back. Oh, so am I, but I'd like to have heard that man talk. Gibber, you mean? He was running amok, off his nut. You can learn something even from a lunatic. But you've got it all straightened out, sir, haven't you? Asked the sergeant. The inspector pulled the notebook towards him again and opened it. Yes, I think so, he said, turning the pages. Yes, I expect so. Thanks to the assistance of that fellow Maltby, whose statement was of more use than all the rest put together. Clear-headed chap, that. He helped me work out Smith's movements from A to Z. Let's run over 'em again, and you'll see if you can trip me up. I'd sooner you did it than somebody else. Now then, Smith steals Barling's letter case in the train. Barling attacks him, and Smith strangles Barling. Murder number 1. Okay, nodded the sergeant. Not for Barling, commented the inspector grimly. K.O. for him. Right, Smith bunks, gets to Valley House, loses the letter case there, plays hide and seek and ducks and drakes and God knows what, is suspected by the company, also off that same train, of course, and finally, when challenged, does another bunk. Meets Harvey Strange on his way to Valley House. What was Harvey going there for? To spend Christmas there, of course. What else? Smith had another rough house. Why? Don't you know? No more than you do, sir. Quite correct. Now you see why I wish Smith were alive, so we could make him speak, but it's fairly easy to guess how that second tussle started. What condition was Smith in when you met him? You said he was off his nut yourself. So he was. All right, then. He bumps into Harvey Strange. Strange says, "Hello. What's the hurry?" or something of that sort, and Smith doesn't wait to explain. Don't forget, they saw him go off with the knife and the hammer, and they heard a scream. Yes, and we've got the knife, but where's the hammer? Buried in the snow somewhere, I expect. We'll find it. I've thought of another idea, sir, said the sergeant. What is it? Smith had lost his letter case, so he needed more cash for his getaway. With 1 murder against him, he might have risked a second for another wad of notes. You can only hang a man once. That's a good theory of yours, said the inspector. We'll note it. It could fit murder number 2, but it doesn't fit murder number 3, though. We don't need it for number 3, sir, do we? No, we don't. By that time, Smith was completely dippy. You can keep steady after 1 murder, but a couple's a bunch. After murder number 2, he hurries on. He passes William Strange and Miss Strange in their stranded car. Why doesn't he go for them? Let him rest occasionally. Yes, perhaps. His arm was tired. And there were 2 of them, seriously speaking. I don't see any flaw there. Miss Strange asks him for help, and he says he'll fetch it, but of course he doesn't. And the next glimpse we get of him is on the way to Himmersby, where we've been notified of the murder of Barling, murder. That's murder number 1, and are on the lookout for the wanted man. Police Constable Lake spots him, challenges him, chases him, and loses him. Smith turns back the way he came, hides in the car we found his cap there afterwards, you remember, and stays till Martha Wick passes by and becomes too inquisitive. Or perhaps he dived in the car when he saw her coming, interposed the sergeant, and she hadn't the sense to leave it at that. Sergeant, said the inspector solemnly, if you're not very careful, you will become intelligent like me. That is probably what did happen, though. Frankly, all this probably and possibly is getting on my nerves. Anyway, Smith knifes the poor woman in a fresh panic and commits murder number 3. What was Martha Wick doing out so late? Asked the sergeant. Martha Wick was the sister of the manservant at Valley House, answered the inspector, and she was on her way to help cook the Christmas dinner. Finally, Smith had the bad luck to meet you on the edge of Weber's Dip, and you refused to become his 4th victim. Quite rightly. But you can be ready for a nice little spot of bother over that. He rose and stretched. So that's that for the moment. And now for the next. Strictly speaking, Sergeant, it's not our job to phone up relatives and make other people's excuses for 'em. But as there's no telephone at Valley House, and Christmas comes but once a year, thank God, I suppose we must allow this exception, eh? Where are those 4 telephone numbers? Chapter 27. Jessie winds it up. At 1:30 on Christmas night, Mr. Hopkins descended from the bedroom he had all been allotted jointly with David, and reached the hall just as Mr. Maltby was coming out of the drawing-room. It was a very different hall from the hall the stranded party had entered some 28 hours earlier. After a most disturbed night any of them had ever spent, and a morning almost equally disturbed by a succession of snow-covered police officers, the great snowstorm had ended, but the aftermath would remain for many a day till the peaceful white mantle changed to brown slush, and the brown slush oozed unpicturesquely away. Liddy had gripped the situation once more and organized a decorating expedition. Death lay around the house, but life had to fight it. And in the case of life had the advantage of being no poorer than death. So the afternoon had been spent clearing the front door and in making short excursions into the woods, from which holly had been wrested and cleared of its white covering. The house was now bright and red with berries and glistening, prickly leaves. The brightest berries and the best leaves had been preserved and reserved for the frame of John Strange's painting. Then the guests, no longer uninvited, had retired to their allotted rooms to make what toilets they could, and Mr. Maltby and Mr. Hopkins had been the first to descend. "Going along well?" inquired the latter, as the old man closed the drawing-room door. "Mr. Thompson will soon be fit to continue his broken journey to his aunt," replied Mr. Maltby, "who will complete his return to depressed normality." "Well, we've all had broken journeys, come to that," commented Mr. Hopkins. "And shall continue to have them," answered Mr. Maltby. "There is no such thing as a destination." Mr. Hopkins cleared his throat. Pity this old man couldn't talk rationally, like an ordinary human being. Nasty habit of making you feel inferior and uncomfortable. Still, Mr. Hopkins was not likely to see much more of him, and, meantime, there were 1 or 2 points that might be cleared up while the opportunity remained. "Cigar?" said Mr. Hopkins. "I'm allowed my pipe," said Mr. Maltby. They lit up. Suddenly Mr. Hopkins shot his first question. "How did you know those notes were stowed away behind that picture?" "It was an easy guess," answered Mr. Maltby. "Nobody else guessed it. No, the inspector sees most of the game. The players are often blinded by its details. Can't see the wood for the trees, you mean? Precisely. Mr. Hopkins replaced his cigar between his lips and then took it out again and regarded the ash. And there was nothing else, eh? Just that, eh? What else do you mean? I mean, well, the whole thing is so damn queer. It was just you speaking, wasn't it? I mean, damn it. Of course it was, but it wasn't it? If I told you that it wasn't, answered the old man, if I told you that I did not say a single word through my own initiative, but that my lips moved in obedience to the spirit of John Strange, would you again say bosh? I don't know, murmured Mr. Hopkins uncomfortably. Then why should I take the risk of inviting your contempt? Oh, yes, I get you. No, I wouldn't. You now believe, then, in ghosts. Come, I haven't said that. But you are ready to believe in them. That's a different... I might be. Bosh, Mr. Hopkins smiled at Mr. Maltby. And it is a pleasure to make the remark to one who has exploded the rope trick. You recall certain observations of mine in the train? Probably you were not listening. I have a respect for those who believe in ghosts, and one of my best friends is convinced that he is on excellent terms with a man who looks once a month for his head. But that is not my personal way of explaining and apparently unexplainable things. And certainly the ghost of John Strange has not been here this Christmas, fortunately for John Strange. We hatch ghosts in our own minds, out of the logic that is beyond us. Logic, though, through science, may one day recapture the sounds of the Battle of Hastings, but this will not mean that the battle is still going on. Believe me, Mr. Hopkins, there are quite enough astounding, uncanny, mind-shattering experiences within the boundaries of sheer logic to eliminate the necessity of ghosts for our explanations or our thrills. We are only touching the fringe of these things. We have only touched the fringe of them in this house. There has been no ghostly hand to guide me. Then what the devil did you mean when you took me up about running the show? Demanded Mr. Hopkins. I said you were doing it, but you gasped about something bigger. Mr. Maltby gave a little shrug. In a minute since, perhaps I did run the show. Perhaps I even enjoyed it. It amused my analytical sense, especially the final scene last night, or rather early this morning, and entertaining interviews with the police. Probably I like showing off in my particular way as much as you do in your particular way, but it was only in the minute sense. How can I explain what I mean by the larger sense in a way that will leave you any wiser? He paused. Have you ever wondered how two butterflies, fields apart, can find each other? How thousands of bees lacking our alleged intelligence return the evening to the same hive without any map or clock to guide them? How trees grow in all sorts of shapes, but always with balance? How separate drops of water merge into communal obedience to a mass of dead matter called the moon, and go for 6 hours one way and then for 6 hours another? Have you ever wondered how the inevitable you came about? You cannot explain these things. You can only become conscious at rare moments of the working of some vast arrangement, and that consciousness may be due to your own intensive vision, or to the simplicity of the view you happen to be traveling through. The view we have been traveling through was so simple and neat and orderly that one almost felt the vast arrangement was tired, or on holiday, and wanted a little easy recreation. I suppose you know what you're talking about. It is clear you don't. I don't, admitted Mr. Hopkins, but I'll risk one more question all the same. He stopped abruptly at the kitchen door, opened, and Charles Shaw carried a tray into the dining room. Him, whispered Mr. Hopkins. Why all the whitewashing stuff? Mr. Maltby waited till the servant had passed back into the kitchen. If there is any whitewashing of Charles Shaw, he will have to do that himself, he replied. My remarks last night concerning him were made in deference to my reading of William Strange's Desire. William is growing old, and he is a sentimentalist. He will be far happier forgiving Shaw than imprisoning him. Moreover, quite a lot of soiled linen need not now be made public. William Strange and his daughter deserve a little peace, don't you think? And Shaw's curse is weakness, cowardice, not deliberate wrong. Or do you think Shaw murdered John Strange? No, certainly not, answered Mr. Hopkins. Or Harvey Strange? No. Or his sister Martha? For an instant, Mr. Hopkins' eyes popped. He stared at Mr. Maltby. I hadn't thought of that, he exclaimed. I had, replied Mr. Maltby. We only have Shaw's word for that incident. He could have done the murder himself, given the pluck and the motive. Mr. Hopkins shook his head. Can't see him having either, he answered. No, I don't think he did it. And I am sure he didn't. So we all have to worry about is adding Harvey's murder to Smith's score instead of Martha's. Now both are dead themselves. To descend to an expressive vulgarism, I should worry. On the landing above two other people were not worrying. David had deliberately lingered after Mr. Hopkins had left him, and was standing in the passage when Nora came out of her room. She smiled, and she saw him, but did not pause until she found him standing in her way. Don't go down for a moment, he said. Why not? She asked. Because I've been standing here for 6.5 minutes, especially to talk to you, and I should hate to have wasted all that time for nothing. What do you want to talk about? I've forgotten, though I knew all the while I was waiting. Perhaps it was to say Merry Christmas. We've said that a dozen times. Well, you'll think of it later. I want to go and see how Father is. Your father's all right, he retorted. He's got 5 nice, crisp, 1,000-pound notes, and a daughter, so you needn't worry about him any more. Try thinking about somebody else for a change. Of course, you wouldn't have the kindness to ask who, would you? If you like, she laughed. Who? The man on the moon, he laughed back. It's a damn good thing for you we couldn't find any mistletoe. Come downstairs and I'll show you some string tricks. You are ridiculous. I've got to help your sister in the kitchen. No, you're ridiculous. First you say you've got to go and see your father, and then you say you've got to help my sister in the kitchen. Well, I say you've got to see my string tricks. Are they good? I don't know. I've never done any yet. I heard them laugh as they went downstairs, ran Jessie's diary, and I said to myself, there goes your little romance. Jessie, of course, it was silly, because there never was any romance. I mean, only in one's mind. But if there had been, I'd have said goodbye, because I knew how things were turning out. Then I thought I'd go and see how Mr. Strange was myself, as Nora hadn't gone. Of course, I didn't listen to their conversation, but I heard it was just coming out of my room myself. Only I waited, so as not to interrupt them. It gave me a funny feeling when I knocked on Mr. Strange's door, because that was the room I had first with the 4-poster bed. He wanted me to go back to it, but I said I wouldn't dream of it, and I wouldn't. I called out to know how he was, and he asked me to come in. So I did, and we had a rather funny 2 or 3 minutes, not quite knowing what to say, but somehow it was quite friendly. I could never be really at home with a man like that, though, as he lives in another world, or so it seems to. Then suddenly he said, well, shall we be getting down? And going down the stairs. And then I said, yes, let's. I've come to the conclusion that real conversation isn't half as clever as you find in books or plays. Anyhow, mine isn't. And then we went down. Lydia was in the kitchen, and David and Nora were off somewhere or other. I don't know where. And as the 3 other men didn't need me, or if Mr. Hopkins did, I wasn't looking to see, I thought I'd go and and have a word with poor Mr. Thompson, who one felt rather sorry for being all left out of it. Though there was some of it left, he was still left out of all of it. I was glad I went as soon as I got in because he looked so very white, though better, and pleased to see me. "How are you?" I said. "Getting along fine," he said. "How's your foot?" "Oh, that's almost mended," I said. "I don't think it was ever as bad as I thought it was." "I bet it was," he said. "People often crick their ankles badly at a time, but get better quickly. It's the difference between a strain and a sprain." "I have a cousin who's a chemist." Then suddenly he went red and asked out of the clear sky, "I say, you know, you're really awfully decent. You don't mind me saying that, do you? It doesn't mean anything, but may I ask you something?" I began to feel a bit red myself. All I'd done was to pop in and give him a cheery word now and then, knowing it was what I'd have liked in his place. "Yes, of course," I said, hoping it wasn't what I thought, though I don't know how one could have thought it with Mr. Thompson. "Have I made a fool of myself?" he asked. "Gracious, what makes you think that?" I exclaimed. "I don't know," he replied, "but have I?" "Of course you haven't," I said. "You've been ill. No one can prevent that. But if you have been, well, you'd have helped as much as anybody. I remember you began doing everything." There was something quite pathetic about him, and I expect that's what made me say, almost before I knew it, "Shall I have my Christmas dinner in here with you?" His was to be brought in, and it seemed rather a shame he should be all by himself to have dinner. He didn't believe I meant it at first. I hadn't, but when he saw I did, he almost blubbed, or should I say, broke down and cried. And I had to pretend I didn't notice. Of course, he wasn't well. And then the gong went. And so that's what happened. I stayed with him till dinner was over. He wasn't allowed much of it, poor fellow, and I could see him falling in love with me. It's awful. I get all the wrong people. I mean, he's all right, but goodness, anyway, I couldn't help it, could I? I was only trying to be kind, as David had been to me, and then I joined the others, leaving the door open so I could hear. And we drank healths to everybody under the sun. I can't stand much more wine, which I expect was why I ended up by proposing the health of the police inspector. I can't stand much. Oh, I wrote that. Well, anyhow, we'd been through hell, and it was Christmas. So if one or two of us did get a bit funny or tipsy, well, who could blame anybody? And that, my friends, is the end of the book Mystery in White. A funny little tale of whodunit, a mystery and suspense, somewhat of a thriller. I hope you enjoyed it. This ends our year of 2025. I hope you guys had a good year, and if not, I wish you the best year in 2026. I believe our next book will be Phantom of the Opera, which I plan to begin reading tomorrow and posting our first chapter for tomorrow night. This has been Indiana Homes. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and love to you all. Good night.
Please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notifications button. Thank you very much.